So welcome to the Grand Rapids Label video blog series. It's a series that we've put together to chat about topics that are relevant in the label space. Specifically, I'm Bill Bergstrom with Grand Rapids Label, Vice President of Sales and Marketing. Grand Rapids Label is a decades-old label converter here based in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we are super excited and honored, frankly, to have Linnea Keen joining us today to chat labels and state of the market and what's coming down, the train track, so to speak, after a couple of years of interesting disruption in the pressure-sensitive labeling space. Linnea is the president of TLMI, has been now for little north of 2.5 years. Is that right,
Yeah,
Linnea?
that
And
is
that's
right. That's amazing.
time flies.
It
And that's
does.
after a 20+ year career with UPM Raflatac, right?
That is correct.
In a
Yes.
revenue generation role. So I'll have to, mind my P's and Q's here. You and I can relate on the revenue generation side. So thank you for joining, Linnea. A little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about a TLMI, and then we'll get into the content and start unpacking the state of the label marketplace.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. As you said, I took over this role of president of TLMI in July of 2020 it was. So who knew? We were just a couple months fresh into the pandemic. I interviewed during the pandemic, so got to do my interview with the board just like we're sitting here. And then things move forward. So, we always thought we were coming out of it really quickly, like everybody else, and had to pivot along the way. Probably, a little different challenge is that there's members, they volunteer to be part of TLMI, and very blessed and honored to lead this organization because it is completely voluntary, right? So people love and value TLMI. So, I take that very serious as being just a keeper of TLMI for what it has been and what it will be. And for TLMI, we're celebrating our 90th year this year.
Wow.
So you're going to start to see that through all of our communication, which is really something. It started off as a tag industry, and then label was incorporated due to some of the changes in technology and innovations that took place. And here we are, 90 years later, and it continues.
Well, I don't know how long Grand Rapids Label has been a member of TLMI. I probably should know that, but it has been a while. We are huge fans of the organization and, of course, you and your leadership. So again, thanks for taking some time for us. And for the listener, again, maybe you've listened to these video blogs from Grand Rapids Label before, but what we're going to try and do today is of course, leverage, Linnea, your breadth of knowledge, your experiences, and then, of course, your connection to the industry and your very unique connection to the industry to chat about the label industry, right? It's been a couple of years of disruption. Everybody knows it has been for a number of industries, but we're really eager to keep today very forward-looking. We'll certainly check in on where we are today, but then talk about what's coming down the pike, maybe 12, 18, 24 months, and then even look out a little further than that, hopefully giving the viewer a number of things, right? Some good confidence in where the industry's headed. If you're, buying labels and those types of things, if you're also in our industry, just to, again, further understanding of what's coming. So if it's all right with you, we'll just kind of get started. You use the word innovation. We like to talk about that too, and we'll just kind of get started. Sound fair?
Sounds fair. Sounds
All
great.
right. And that's where we'll start, right? Just, Lynn, I know you've been doing some traveling recently, touching base with lots of folks as 2023 have started off. What are you learning? What's the current state of the industry and as we just get going here in 2023?
Yeah, I think the main, well, there's lots of main messages. There's, this year is not going to be unique without its challenges. When we turned the page of the new year, the opportunities and challenges changed. So it's really interesting to reflect just shortly, or just a quick view back only to the October annual meeting when we were out in Arizona. The challenges we were speaking about was the transportation system, the fear of the railroad going on strike, advocating on behalf of the association, the industry with that, the challenges going on within the paper industry, as we had just received an announcement that a paper maker was exiting the liner market, and people were concerned of, would we have enough? How long will it last? What do we do? What are all alternatives? Do we move from paper to film, et cetera, et cetera? So, those were the acute supply chain items that were on everybody's mind at that time. Fast forward, turn the page. We're just finishing January. That's crazy.
Right.
So, and I should also say inflation. And we were privileged to have Alan Bolio from ITR Economics,
Right.
who is our loyal speaker there, and he just indicated things will be fine. It might slow down a little bit. It might feel like it's slowing down more than it actually is, because everybody is coming down off of the sugar rush of COVID.
He did use
So
that phrase, didn't he? Yeah.
he did the sugar
Yeah.
spike of COVID. So, people are saying, yeah, it set down in Q4, but did the demand set down? Not necessarily. There was so much inventory built up into the whole system, the whole supply chain, whether you're a brand owner, a CPG, a converter, a supplier to a supplier, everybody has had inventory. So as we turn the page into the new year, that's mixed. Some people are really busy. Some people are soft. Is there a rationale behind it? It's not quite clear yet if there is.
Interesting. Yeah, our Q4 numbers mirrored that, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully, we're off to an incredibly fast start this year. So, fascinating, right? When, you think about the inventory buildup, we did it,
Yes.
right?
You weren't
You think
alone.
about the inventory buildup at some point that's going to come swinging back around. Very, very interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
so that was on the supply side, right? And
Yeah.
so now, because things did set down a bit in Q4, that was opportunity. All of the, let's say, paper for one of the supplies didn't get was not all consumed. So
Right.
that means you have more to start the year out with, and that one liner supplier is going to produce and is producing enough for people to have for some time period. So the acute need isn't as urgent, is what I'm hearing from the market, right? I haven't talked to those suppliers, but that's what the converters are saying.
Yeah.
The
Are
other
there
ones,
any other current topics, right? So that's good,
yeah.
right? Maybe a little mixed messages isn't the right word at all, but some different impact of some stabilization. Or is there another topic or two that seems to be really bubbling up right now?
So certainly workforce. So
Yeah.
the availability of workers, people, first of all, who want to work in a variety of those jobs. So whether that is, in the office and some of the skilled labor, or let's say in the office, whether that's accounting or engineering, any of those professional ones, but certainly where the highest need is the shop floor workers. So to keep the factories running. So the real question is how to engage and get people excited about manufacturing. There seems to be this stigma attached to it. And even last week when I was out at a show, have some young grads coming out of graphic communication, and they're astounded. I start talking to them about labels and the opportunities within labels, whether it is graphic design, operationally on the floor, accounting, engineering, sales, marketing, all of that. And they never thought about it. So how do we get it? People outside of the industry, because many of us have been here for so long and we get addicted to it. How do we share that and attract those workers to keep our facilities going to service the needs of our customers?
Yeah, you and I, even before we started recording, even touched on it. I came from outside of the industry, and it has been a fascinating one to learn, a challenging one to learn, which I enjoy, but one just loaded with opportunity, right? To expand your understanding of lots and lots and lots of different components of the industry, and it's been really fun. So maybe with a couple of those things in mind, let's go to kind of the first horizon, right? So it's real quick, or those conversations no doubt lead very quickly into, all right, what kind of conversations are we having throughout 2023? What does 2024 look like? How does the immediate kind of near term coming out of COVID and some of the disruptions that we've seen, what does it look like? And certainly you can touch on workforce as well as other topics if you'd like to.
Yeah, with the question of demand and what does that look like? So that demand question, that'll be what people are sorting through, and we will see there's going to be strength in numbers coming out for certain markets, and certain other ones are going to struggle. So it's just really that agility and that flexibility there. As you need to meet demand and the challenges on the workforce, that's where automation comes in, right? So the investment people are placing, the investments into automation, relooking at your processes, how can you do more with less? I think that's the challenge everybody faces, whether that's in the good times and the bad times. If there is that economic shift or downturn, people will be looking at that. You're doing less with more and satisfying the customers and meeting their needs. Quite often you typically find, and what I've seen in my past, when you have to approach that does come out. Innovation shows up in different categories, right? So whether that's innovating your new process on the machine, how you load the press, how you run the job through the press or take it off, or looking at materials that you hadn't looked at before to see could they meet the need of a job or meet the need of a customer. So innovation is everywhere in different shapes and sizes.
I'm going to hit you with a question that I didn't necessarily prep you with before, but innovation often requires collaboration, and in our industry, whether it's material suppliers or equipment suppliers or the other software suppliers, so on and so forth, have to come together for a pretty a really, really cohesive solution. Can you speak off the top of your head about that a little bit when you're out at these shows and you're out talking to the different folks that are involved with our industry? Do you feel like there's good collaboration, a good understanding of how all that comes together for maybe folks like us to generate results?
I take a moment to process that. So, right away, I think of when we're out at an event like Label Expo, or even last week when I was at one of the companies, they have a software solution for the industry. So if either one of those, you think about a software solution. So you're bringing that to the manufacturing, up to your operation. So let's say in a converter, so you have to understand the multiple facets of it, that different departments. What does it take to process an order from time that you receive it from your customer, run it through your whole plant, and then deliver it to that said customer or co-packer or brand owner? You've got, whether it's operations and planning, you've got your ordering materials, so you're receiving raw materials, then you're running it through the press, all of that. So to understand that, that collaboration has to happen too from that software company, because they're not just talking to you as the said customer, they're also learning about the process and having to touch base and learn from your suppliers as well as your customers' needs. So that's just one that comes top of mind. Or even a materials change. What? The material folks can make a change, they can run it through their equipment, but it's so important to find out, how is it going to work in your equipment, and better yet, how is it going to perform for your customer in the application? So that just takes a tremendous amount of coordination through multiple spots throughout that value chain.
Yeah, and we've been struck by how different organizations have embraced some of the conversations that you've talked about. No doubt some organizations have done it better, where they've had what's the word? Maybe a little bit more patience for working through challenges and really trying to dig deep to understand where what success really looks like and how they can be a part of ultimately getting there. It's been really fascinating from a converter standpoint to try and coordinate all those resources and bring them together for the end user for sure. So when we have these conversations, again, oftentimes we also like to talk about kind of 5 years out, right, in an industry, right? Whether we've had some really fascinating conversations from material suppliers, from logistics companies, and so on and so forth. And some of the fun conversations are really looking beyond just kind of the immediate future and more kind of 5 years out. Maybe we can shift gears a little bit to that horizon. I enjoy chatting about it. Again, in your position, just exposed to so many diverse members of the labeling industry and people involved with the labeling industry, what are they getting excited about that's maybe a little bit further down the road? Generation 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever we want to talk about there. Once we get past, maybe some stability in demand and we work through some of the inventory and even get back to some pre-pandemic more normalcy, what does it look like 4 or 5 years out from now? Where's this industry really headed?
Yeah, I think all of us would like to know that. One,
Yeah.
first of all, so I don't think there's any crystal ball, but what is going to drive it is sustainability is one of those that is top of mind. So some people may say, yeah, well, we've had sustainable solutions, but they're not willing to pay for them. I think sustainability is more in that wider, broader definition of what can we all do to better take care of the planet that we live on, and what changes are those made to do so, whether that is the materials, how we manufacture the product, how we service it, what our customers are looking for, or your customers are looking for those solutions, those packaging solutions. I think that overall is what's going to drive, the consumer drives it. So those packaging solutions, expanding the capabilities within your own operation or what you offer your customer, that is what people are talking about. Those who have been primarily in pressure sensitive are going into flexible packaging, they're doing shrink sleeve, they're in mold. So just to continue to adjust and be on the forefront for what the customers are looking for, and then how to provide those sustainable options to them. I think one of the real challenges and changes that we're going to see, just from a brief presentation I saw last week, I'm not in it, Roz Bandy, who works for us, would speak better to it, is there's a lot that's coming down the pipe for these states that are adopting certain targets of being landfill free or all of those sustainability goals. And when they put those in place and start measuring that, that's really going to drive change. And so I don't know that we even know the whole understanding of it, but each state is going to be different. They already listed the 5 states that are leading first, and each one of them are different, how their systems are. So that understanding of that complexity and how to streamline that so we're all marching in this, all striving for the same things, really see that advocacy and those changes driving where we're going to be.
So that sounds, to use here, that sounds really challenging, right? As an organ or as an industry that's going into multiple states all the time. I mean, there's definitely some regionality to what we do, but I mean, even us as a medium large converter, I mean, our labels are going everywhere, every single day, right? Internationally, we only continue to see the requirements of compliance, reach rows and those types of things increase on what we're doing. Yeah, so when we start to get into the uniqueness state to state, that'll throw some curveballs at us for sure. It's been interesting for us as an organization. Yeah, I think a little bit about our track record and our environmental journey, and being in 2022, we achieved landfill free. So we look forward to maintaining that throughout 2023. And I guess what I'm saying is even internally here, just a few years ago, when we're talking to our sales team and so on and so forth and asking about sustainable solutions, it's again kind of an afterthought, it'd be nice, but type of conversation. And very quickly now it is, this is what people need, it's what they're asking for, it's spec'd in, those types of things. Uh, it has been a very, very quick change to the power of sustainability and the needs of the marketplace surrounding sustainability.
Yeah, and I think it ties back into what you were saying, your question earlier about that collaboration.
Yeah,
So, independently, every component of a package, whatever that package is, whether it's a corrugated box or a bottle or a flexible packaging, I mean, whatever it is, every component will be looking at alternative solutions or new
yeah,
solutions, right,
yeah,
for that. So, and they impact each other. So, that collaboration is paramount up and down the chain. Typically, you as a converter are in the midst of that, right? Have a better understanding. So that really falls to all of you to pull all your partners together. So I think that collaboration partnerships will strengthen
yeah,
over the years to come, and
yeah,
it'll be even more important to work together for
yeah.
those.
Yeah, we can't ask for partnership more from our suppliers. I mean, we're really trying to have those types of conversations. So fantastic sharing, right? In a short amount of time, you've hit
Yes.
on the value of agility, the challenges of the workplace. You've hit on collaboration. You've hit on, what's coming from a sustainability standpoint. One of the things we like to do in these conversations is to try, as we kind of wind our time down together, to try and, in my words, put a bow on it, right, Linnea? So if I'm a converter or I'm a participant in the labeling industry, in your mind and in your opinion, are there two or three, maybe one or two, I should say, kind of key questions or key conversations you feel organizations should be having so that they can be successful going forward, and they can use and ask some pillar questions that helps set a foundation for success going forward? And it's kind of a weighty question, but if you were to say, "Hey, really pay attention to these two or three things," what comes to your mind?
Wow. Yes, I know I was probably supposed to be prepared for that question, so I'll do my best to think about it. I even think just in our world, in the TLMI world every day, is
Yeah,
how can we have the greatest impact for and bring the most value for our members. So
okay,
translating that into you is the actions that you're doing today. How can that bring the greatest value to your customer and serving your customer? Because at the end, we all like buying from each other. We buy from people. People buy from people and people who they trust. So
yeah,
you get to garner and earn their trust through those things that you do. It's hard when you're in the weeds and your day is falling apart and you're fighting that battle and you're distracted in the here and now. Got to peek that head up and see, how will that contribute to our success in the future and contribute to making a difference, not only for Grand Rapids Label, but also your customers.
yeah. That's words of advice well beyond the label industry, Linnea. You have a future in business consulting, regardless of industry. Um,
I have
well,
to
I
re-say
think.
that to remind myself because I get caught up in our own little TLMI world. And what happens here is we try to better serve our members and bring value to our members so that they'll stay part of this amazing community that is called TLMI. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, cheers to you and that perspective, right? It's a healthy one, and no doubt is one of the main reasons why you and your group and TLMI will continue to add value for folks like us in our industry as a whole. So, again, lots of great topics, right? We always try and keep these short. There's plenty there to unpack. We'll have
it
to
goes by
have you on
fast.
have you on again later in the year or something like that. We'll do a three-quarter check-in or something like that. But yeah, from again the workforce to collaboration to sustainability to agility. I love the agility word for us, right? And for everybody. It is so important because change, the rate of change is as fast as ever. And good on you for keeping that top of mind. That's for sure. So thank you very, very much
Welcome.
for some time,
Welcome.
right? And
Thank you. Thank you.
perspective.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I think, just for all of us to remember, someone once said it to me and it's stuck, even with the challenges comes opportunity. So we need that keeps us going every day. So, and I really appreciate it. It's the start of the new year and look forward to all that's to come.
Yeah, for sure. We do too, and no doubt we'll run into each other face to face at some point this year. So thanks again for doing this and offering all kinds of value for the listener. We really appreciate it, Linnea, and best to you here in 2023.
Great. Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.